that when I look at the leadership that has been in and out of the Department of Arts and Culture at a ministerial level, that this industry has a fighting chance.
It's less than 1% of the national budget, and the national budget is 1 trillion.
If we can get our intellectual capital draft document right in the Gazette and not have this archaic law that's been used by everyone to sidestep and circumvent paying rights on photographs today. If we can get that right, we will be building a long-term industry. What is our kind of 5-year plan for African stories? And not just building an industry on being a service provider. If you look at, from our, most of our income is generated within the ad industry. Lots of internationals come in, blah, blah, blah. We've got a lot of international movies coming down, shooting most of them in Cape Town. Okay, they're using the studios. 8-year contracts, 5-year contracts being signed. There's a huge amount of income being generated. And I keep going, what is your 5 to 10 year plan on this? What is your 3? Where are our writers being taught and hooked up so that hypothetically, we've got the BRICS, Argentina decides, listen, we're going to get our act together, we're going to build a couple of sound studios, weather's kind of right, it's all the same, It's on the same timeline. Where do we sit as an industry? Because it's a fickle industry, filmmaking. You go to where you get the best kind of rates and the best skills for those rates.
Look at what Jody was saying about what is the South African story. I mean, it's that great myth of what is the great South African film that's all so elusive. It's not so much about that. We've got such a small kind of pie, the amount of money that is there to facilitate the making of local stories, and finding the channels to put that through is very, very, very difficult. More and more these days it's about how you get people to invest in it and how you get people to then market. I mean, I don't want to reinvent the wheel or change what you're saying, but the thing is, it's a bit like live theater as well. There's this kind of corporatization factor that's happened. So we're expected to market this product before we've actually even created it.
Yeah.
So even before we started the artistic process and the integrity around that, we're kind of forced to look at the bottom line considerations further down, however small or large the production might be.
We try and I think
that emulation thing is dangerous.
Hollywood all the time.
We're never going to be able to do that.
And that's where our
different
downfall
culture.
is. Yeah.
It's a different culture.
And until we don't acknowledge our own culture and make stories that are authentic to ourselves, I think we won't succeed.
I caught myself the other day. I was watching Zian Tuli's film, Hard to Get. So I'm watching Hard to Get, and I realized about halfway through that it's all subtitled, but I feel very comfortable watching it. And I'm not I don't speak other languages like that, but I'm thinking I'm so comfortable watching this because, and that spoke to me about kind of ownership of local films. It's saying there's not this.
Because you could relate.
Yeah, I could relate because
your
it's from my country.
Yeah.
Script takes time to develop. It doesn't happen overnight. Shooting, that we can do. Because that is the foundation. It's the fundamentals that anything, that whole house of cards is built on.
We're not a factory. We cannot have that sensibility of just being a factory, or else those stories will always be marginalized. They will be less than, unless you invest in them.
And that comes from a business. People looking at the numbers. A lot of the people who are in the seats, who make decisions as the commissioning editors or things, do not necessarily understand the industry and what it takes to put from a film to a theatre production. A lot of people who come into this industry walked in and gone, right, okay, now I'm this, right. And again, it goes to that thing where we were talking about it, they see the product. Hey, wow, you guys hey, you're a funny guy, come stand me, tell me a joke. I'm like, I'll joke you in your face. Seriously, that'll be funny. All right. Do you know what it takes to write a comedic script, to rehearse it? Stand-up, it's a rehearsal.
What do you think about the resurgence of Afrikaans cinema coming back, especially onto the scene?
At the moment, sort of CakeNet dominates that entire. I mean, they commission series after series after series. They commission film, and getting on the rehearsal. I've worked with an Afrikaans on CakeNet, a series and a movie, and we have rehearsed for 3 weeks. And he said, "I will not make this movie if I do not rehearse." Quentin Kroch, incredible. Same with the series that he also directed. So I think it is the quality of work that is coming out of the Afrikaans industry is phenomenal, as opposed to 10 years ago when it was like, here's a SLR camera, let's gooi.
What's changed?
Perception.
Perception and money.
Yeah.
Money, huge.
It's also
The budgets are-
but it's expendable income.
Yeah.
It's the Afrikaans films sell better because there's an audience.
And then also, it's also the fact of emotion. I'm buying my taal. I'm buying into the emotion of that. And there's nothing wrong with that. We always tend to forget the common denominator, the normal man in the street, okay? That he also wants to dream. He also wants to believe in something. But we stop him from that. Through what? Through this. Because what we do is we say to him, we're going to put this movie on. It's going to be a new Metro or Stekken quarters, like a movie house with $60. Now, whoa, I'm going to tell you this. My grandmother, when they first came to see me, their nerves were finished because they were like, we're going to a theater. We have to buy clothes. Who are we going to borrow a fur thing for? We have to pay for drinks. How are we going to get there? We're going to have to ask that uncle to borrow a car to take us there. Because, come on now. Look at it realistically. We are saying to the common guy who would love to support that he's going to fork it out. I took my daughter to the film. I was like, 140 Rand a head, man. That's what you got to have. Then you still got to factor in, I got to transport. Where, if you look at where the majority of people live in this country, are there theaters that are accessible?
So what's the vehicle? Do we go back to the schools? Do you go back to the churches?
Interesting,
What
this
do you do?
Pat Na Jou Hart film. Those two actors were 7-Alarm actors and they've received, that celebrity status. They go out with the Blow pop-up theater. I'm working with her now and this weekend she's in Doornfontein, this one she's in Pilansberg. With a mobile theater, Ivan Botha and Donnelly Roberts go out with this portable theater and they just show their movie that they made to the country. And I think that vessel is one that we need to try and sort of encompass every film. That we have that attitude of taking a blow-up theater, you put a pump in and there goes a thing, and I'll show you my movie
I don't know,
for $10.
there are institutions that are out there. Here people are like, Nollywood and stuff, the quality. But people watch it. Why do they watch it? Because it's their stories. Start changing that mindset. And these companies that waste insane amounts of money on absolute, I'm going to put it as that, and they're going, whoo, look what we've done for the community. You've done jack if you haven't made someone dream. Because dreams make people believe that they can do anything.
We talk about a theatre culture, theatre-going culture. And it's exactly what Jody was saying, where if somebody is making their mind up to go to the theatre, you've got a lot of things to take into consideration. A, what type of a show it is. Am I supposed to dress up? Or can I dress down? Is it during the day? Is it in the evening? How do I get there?
Yeah.
How much are the tickets? Am I going to go with a group of people or am I going to buy myself? It's not like you're buying a ticket to go to the movies, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And theatres are not very accessible.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're not accessible. They're not where they need to be for the people who need to watch them or need to go to the theatres.
Yeah.
And the power of film is that you put something you record something on camera like we're doing now. You can take it anywhere. It's not confined in a space. You can take it anywhere. People can watch it on their cell phones.
The worst or most difficult role you've ever played?
Worst.
I'm busy being a husband. Ooh, we're rocking on, man. I'm nailing this role.
We are not editing that bit out.
Worst was one of my first things. I was funky monkey for a children's company,
Okay.
and kids are unforgiving. Every time I come out, they cry, and I'm like, oh, it's over.
What did Funky Monkey have to do?
He had to teach them lessons about sharing.
So you taught my son at school, because that bastard doesn't share anything.
And most challenging, it was probably my very first professional theatre job with Artscape. I had to play Alexander the Great, and I was 24 years old and quite skinny. And it wasn't the mighty conqueror. It was the man behind closed doors, kind of. And that was, yeah. And I think just purely because it was my very first professional job, and I came out of a film school, so there was that whole perception, like, what are you doing on stage? You studied at a film school, so, you know.
Yeah, you damn pretty boy, get out of here.
You know, it's tough, and the kind of mental pressures, the occupational hazards, comrades, can be tough on people. And you know, you have to be kind of aware of people who work in your industry. I'm not saying that it's that much different from any other industry.
I agree with you, and I think I gotta add to that, I think it is different to any other industry because we take on emotions.
Yeah.
We are all kind of, I think, slightly touched in our heads because that's
Okay.
what we do. We have to have a kind of a creative madness to access that. And if you're not aware of it, you do get, I mean, Robin Williams,
You have to
Franz Dabrowski,
we have to debrief
Yeah.
somewhere all the time on a very conscious level. We have to debrief because if we're tackling actual issues in our society, if we're talking about poverty, if we're talking about abuse. A recent case I had, you know, you play somebody who's a rapist. You know, that is an incredibly difficult thing to portray. I'm going to do this. My world is going to change just for that little while and everything. And am I going to come out the other side of this completely unaffected? Not always. We all have friends and colleagues we know that sometimes they take it too seriously. You go, oh, dude. You know, dude, chill out, okay? Because it gets into you because you're either doing too much research or you're getting so involved with the character or the story.
I was assaulted with a cabbage in Cape Town.
What do they do with the camera?
I'd like to assault you with a cabbage.
Thank you. Yeah, like half a cabbage.
How did it happen? Like, what was the
I
procedure?
did this as a guest role on 7 Line, and I played a kind of abusive dude, you know. I was actually out picking a pumpkin, you know, like those boer pumpkins, a white pumpkin. So I'm like, no, that's lekker. So I'm bent over, and suddenly I feel it's like doof on my back. And this vegetable, I'm like, yo, you stomach, yay, why you eat me? So I turn around, and there's this woman. Did your mother not teach you any manners, no? I'm like, huh? You don't lift your hands to a woman. I'm like, what? Auntie, where, what? She says, yeah, you like to hit women. I watch you on the TV. I'm like, okay. But it's again,